Yes, guys, welcome to a impromptu Gameweek 28 live stream / Gameweek 27 review, because the Arsenal game just wrapped up. What a performance from the Gunners against what can only be described as one of the worst Premier League teams I think I've ever seen in Sheffield United. So I thought this would be a really good opportunity just to come onto here, react to the game, but importantly, have a little look ahead to Game Week 28, because of course it is a double game week for Bournemouth and Luton. We can get some early reactions on exactly what we should do with our FPL team. So as always, if you are here for a little bit of advice, get in the chat. This is your opportunity to get any early questions answered. This is going to be a nice short one, but I really want to get an opportunity just to go through any little bits that are coming to mind as of right now, because I feel like it's a good time to come off the back of such an important game from an FPL perspective. Saka going off early, that feels like an opportunity missed for those that captained him. Obviously, those that didn't, we got very, very lucky. And also the double Arsenal defence clean sheet coming in. I can't lie, I tweeted it earlier. When I saw the scoreline with 20 minutes to go, I looked at my live overall rank and I realised, oh my God, this is massive. The clean sheet coming in is the difference between basically a grey arrow and a green arrow. Thankfully, it came in clutch. Thankfully. So we'll come over to my team in a minute, show you how I got on. But let me know in the chat, how many points did you score this game week? It felt like a week where there was a lot of people with a lot of big returners. But if you didn't have that little differential in your team, you weren't really getting a big green arrow. For example, Areola in goal. If you had Areola, you probably had a good game week. Italy Boom saying Ite Boom's got 78, 84, 85 for Jack. Jonas saying, hey Nacho, hope you're well, doing very well, mate. Is it Shirley Art? 87 points as well. Some big scores in the chat here. So let me know how you got on. I'm interested to know. Gonna do a quick poll just to get an idea. How many points did you score? We'll have 60 to 70, 70 to 80. And then if anybody got 80 to 90, and then we'll do the 90 plus for the rogue person. If you vote for 90 plus, you have to let me know in the chat. Who did you own to get 90 or more points? Let me know in that chat. So let's come on to my team, how I got on. Just give you a bit of an idea on how important that clean sheet was for my own personal team. So this is how we're looking right now. Hopefully you can see that on your screens. Let me know, chat, if you cannot see it, and I will try and enlarge it a little bit the best I can. So this is how I got on. A decent game week, 82 points. Didn't take a point hit this week. Double Arsenal clean sheet coming in so clutch. It's unbelievable, and it means a green arrow from 110k to 97,000. So I'm so happy with that game week, and it felt like it was a decent few weeks, but I really needed that week just to get myself in the top 100k, because I feel like now I'm there. Hopefully I can start to really push through the ranks, and I'm going to discuss in a minute what my chip strategy is, because I was really adamant on a certain direction I was going to take my team, and I have kind of U-turned now on what I'm planning on doing. So I'll give you a little bit of a brief idea, kind of a preview and a first time look at what my chip strategy is, but we'll go into detail. But just a quick cover off, Dubravka with a 7-pointer. Yes, I had Areola on the bench, but look, realistically, the outcome was kind of reflected in the choice. So Newcastle kept the clean sheet, West Ham didn't. That's the right choice. Nobody knows when a penalty save is going to happen, so do not kick yourself if you're in the similar situation to myself and you bench Areola, but you started Dubravka. You got the right pick. Nobody can predict those penalty saves. Double Arsenal clean sheet. I'm devastated about the Man City clean sheet going. If you look at the numbers, I think Man United had a 0.2, 0.3 XG across the course of the game. That one shot from Marcus Rashford basically getting rid of that. If Ake came in with that clean sheet, it would have been an unbelievable game week. The rest of the team, Son coming in was my one transfer, 7-pointer, really happy with that. Foden with a 15-pointer, Saka 7. Again, I feel like I dodged a bullet there, because as you can see, his ownership at my rank was 113%. So basically, any point he scored was actually a bad thing for my rank. So turned out to be a good thing that he went off at half time. And obviously the front three just doing usual bits, very, very highly owned, didn't really impact my rank. Solanke actually was a lot less than I was expecting, and I'm a little bit disappointed he only got 2 points. So that's how the team got on, 82 points and a green arrow to 97k. Let me know what your overall rank is right now. I can see some good points this week already, 89 with bonus points. Nobody in the poll has scored 90 plus, but I'm not surprised. That would have been a monumental score if you did get that. Jonas saying only 71 for me, but at 80k overall, that's a great overall rank. And Rio also saying, use your free hit in Game Week 29. Is it worth a -4 to replace Garnacho by Barkley or Bowen? Between Barkley and Bowen, which option is better? I think Barkley is obviously better from a fixture perspective because he doubles, but Bowen is obviously a better pick from an underlying stats perspective. My one concern with West Ham is the Freiburg game on Thursday. Then they play on Sunday and they play Thursday again against Freiburg. That would be my big concern for them and why I'll be a little bit hesitant to go all in on Jarrod Bowen this week. So I think Ross Barkley is actually an okay move for your teams, but I wouldn't be expecting too much from him realistically. Gusto on the bench, so I could have left him starting anyway. That's unfortunate, mate. Phil, 86. Jack, top 25k is unbelievable. 73 and Saka captain Tom, I feel so bad for you because, as I mentioned, I was somebody who didn't captain him, and I feel very lucky that I didn't get a massive score against me. Just really unlucky in them situations. We were not to know he was going to come off at halftime. Morris is saying start one Gordon or Foden and start one defender, Ake, Taylor, or Stupinan. Okay, so realistically, I just don't think you can bench Foden in the form that he's in right now. So I would start Phil Foden. And in terms of starting one defender, I can't guarantee a Stupinan's minutes. Taylor is just an awful defence, so I probably would say Ake, but I don't feel confident about that one. Lelix is saying almost took out Dan Burn on a hit, and he got 8 points. Yes, Dan Burn coming in clutch for those that kept faith. And Matthew saying, would you prioritise Zabanye or Doughty this week if you're free hitting in Game Week 29? If I was free hitting in Game Week 29, I would prefer the Bournemouth defenders, and I would have Zabanye as my #1 pick. And Cheeks is saying 87 points, Areola on my bench. Exactly the same here, mate. But as I discussed, the actual decision was correct. Newcastle keeping the clean sheet, West Ham not. You can never predict the penalty saves. And when you do look at the underlying numbers for Everton, you can see that they got battered, West Ham. They should have conceded more than they actually did. And it's just one of those games where the penalty save really boosted his returns. So that's how my team got on. What I'm going to show you quickly is my current transfer plans going over the coming game weeks. Because as I mentioned, I have kind of changed the direction that I want to take my team. So it would be good to actually go through this. And again, if you can drop a like on the stream, massively appreciated as always. So this is how the team's looking. Of course, I'm using the FPL Plus Google Chrome extension, which is synced up with the official site. So it is top tier. So this is how the team's looking right now. One free transfer available, 3.4 million in the bank. Now, originally, the plan was to use transfers and points hits to get 8-9 players out in Game Week 29 and then wildcard shortly after. However, I am now of the strategy of actually free hitting in Game Week 29, and let me explain. Currently with my team, if I was to go for the strategy that I want to do, it means I can keep a lot of players and not bring in players that originally I felt that were coming in. So for example, this Game Week in 28, I was planning on bringing in Jarrod Bowen. However, whether it's right or wrong, I am less convinced on Jarrod Bowen with the Freiburg game on Thursday, then playing on Sunday and then Freiburg again on Thursday. I don't really feel compelled to bring in Jarrod Bowen this week. And also, it would then mean me benching Phil Foden, probably one of the most informed players in the league right now. And Bowen would be for a -4 as well. So I'm benching one of the most informed players in the league for a -4 on a player like Jarrod Bowen, who, apart from his hat-trick, has been very, very disappointed in this season. So it doesn't make a lot of sense for my team. So the plan right now is to get rid of Ake because he's offering no value to my team. And rather than bringing in a Luton defender, it would be bringing in a Bournemouth defender because that is going to bring the biggest upside for my team. Now, I don't love it because I like defenders that actually offer some attacking potential, but this fella, Zabanye, is going to give us nothing apart from potential clean sheets. So with Zabanye coming in as my 1 free transfer, the only other decision I have to make is, do I take a -4 for a goalkeeper? And it would be for Neto to go for the Bournemouth triple up. And I do think there is some value in doing so, but right now I'm going to go with the assumption that I don't take a -4 and I just roll out the 1 free transfer. So this is how the team will look going into game week 28. Really happy with it. Game week 29, as I mentioned, I would use my free hit. Now, I'm not really going to give you exactly what I'd go for, but off the top of my head, it probably would look something like, if you give me 30 seconds, I will roll out a team a minute. So it probably would be Flecken to get the Brentford game. I probably would bring in Region. Let me just do the starting 11 just to give you a bit of an idea on what it would look like. Region would be in there, Porro would be in there, and Doughty, obviously. Foden would become Maddison. Saka would become Bailey, or someone along them lines. Again, Aston Villa, not really a team I want to buy right now because of the reintroduction of the Europa League. How is that going to impact Aston Villa? Don't really know on that one. So I don't really want to be buying them, but I like them on a free hit. The other midfielder that I need to consider for my team is going to be a really obvious one that I'm forgetting in Jarrod Bowen, of course, for that one fixture. And the front three would be pretty bog standard in Morris and Tony. So this would be the free hit team roughly. Ignore the bench. Bench is not relevant whatsoever. This would be the free hit team. Now, I've been deliberating for a long time what direction to take my team because I just don't really know whether I actually want to use the free hit this week. However, as I discussed, going for the free hit 29 means I get to target a Bournemouth player, because if I don't free hit in 29, there is no world that I can bring in a Bournemouth player. So bring in Zabanye for this double means that I free hit in game week 29 with this team, roughly this team. Now I get it. Doesn't look exciting at all, but I would have to take a -8 to field 9 players. Yes, I might be able to get the best 9 players available, but I still have to take a -8 to get that. And it would include me bringing in Jarrod Bowen this week for a -4 and then benching Phil Foden, which again, doesn't really make a lot of sense for myself. And also what I do like about it is that I can go into game week 30 with a team like this. And again, I could take a -4 and have brought in somebody like Neto in goal who would be here, but I don't really mind this team right now. Hopefully, Dubravka does get a few more weeks between the sticks. Now, of course, Pedro Porro will come in instead of Saliba in this situation. Now, the big thing about game week 30 is that if I was to free hit in 29, I would not look to wildcard anytime soon afterwards, because the whole upside of doing the free hit is that you get to field a team and keep the core of your squad. And you'd only really do the free hit in 29 if you were happy with the long-term situation of your team. So I'll be really content with this team. The big thing about it is I don't have Mo Salah. And if he is fully fit and available, game week 30 is Liverpool against Brighton. A fantastic fixture for them. And then in game week 31, they have Sheffield United at home. You can see the 2 fixtures highlighted here. Unbelievable fixtures, and ones that I simply cannot ignore Mo Salah if he is fully fit and available. Now, of course, looking at the midfield of my team, I can't upgrade Garnacho to Mo Salah. Otherwise, of course, I would. So we're going to have to sacrifice a midfielder in this team. Son, with Luton at home, makes no sense to get rid of him. Also, Cole Palmer, with doubles on the horizon and Burnley at home, doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, Bukayo Saka, probably the one that does make a lot of sense. But after this game week, he will then have Luton at home, Brighton away, Villa at home. Amazing fixtures. So Foden, I do think, would be the sell. Doesn't make a lot of sense because he is one of the most informed players in the league right now. But unfortunately, you can't have them all. And because of that reason, and I think Mo Salah is one of the best assets in the game, I think selling Phil Foden for Mo Salah just has to be the sacrificial lamb. I think you can make an argument for any of these midfielders to be keeping or sold in the team. So Phil Foden to Mo Salah, and it helps that he's quite expensive as well. So I do get closer to Mo Salah's price. I would be 0.9 million short, and I would need to free up some funds. However, where I think I would do so is by selling Saliba in my team. Doing so brings in Gusto of Chelsea. And what I like about Gusto is that I don't see Reece James coming back into this team anytime soon. And also for game week 30, he has a brilliant home fixture against Burnley. And also with rearranged games to happen for Chelsea, I think it's a really cheap, great option for our teams from game week 30 onwards. So my team with a -4 would look like this. But because it's a -4, I don't mind it because I'm bringing in not only one of the best players this game week, but I'll also be captaining the player that I took a -4 for. So I'm really content with that move. And with that move, I feel like I'm really happy with the direction that the team is looking for game week 30. Now, going into game week 31, just to give us a bit of an idea, I would have Mo Salah at home against Sheffield United, which is great. I think that's really, really solid. And a position that I think a lot of wildcarders are inevitably going to go to come game week 31. Obviously, from this point onwards, we don't really know what's going to happen with the team. So I don't really want to make assumptions that, oh, in game week 31, I'm going to do this. Injuries can happen. So much can happen over this period that I just don't really want to make any sort of assumptions that I'm going to do Watkins, Darwin Núñez, for example, because we've all been burnt like that in the past. So based on that, this is my short-term plan. I know a lot of people right now are thinking of doing the points hits and free transfers through game week 29, and I do think it's a brilliant strategy. But after assessing the situation, I think a free hit in game week 29 just makes a lot of sense for my own personal team. I don't really think doing the transfers with the points hits to get myself 9 players to then wildcard straight out of it is a route that I want to go for. And also, going down that route means I would also sell most Erling Haaland. I'd lose loads of value in him. I just don't think it is the right thing for my team. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, whether you are on the same boat as me or not, in the same situation. But that's how I'm landing right now. I'll be very interested to know your thoughts. So let me get some more questions done, guys. Aaron Foden killed me even with White in my team. Hey, good work with White in your team, but yes, I know what you mean. If you don't have the big guns, it is always a very, very difficult game week when you don't have the real highly owned players that also really go off in each game week. Hella saying people are really transferring Dunk. What have we been waiting? I don't really know if people are bringing in Dunk. I didn't know that. I'm not free hitting in that bad game week 29. Yes, so I get it. Game week 29, it doesn't look great on paper, but the pros of going for this sort of strategy is. So this is the game week 29 free hit, for example. I don't really want Ivan Toney either side of game week 29, but for this particular fixture, I think he's fantastic. So I really like him for this week, and not many people are going to be able to get there unless they take a -4 point hit. I get to bring in someone like Morris, where others are selling Erling Haaland for Morris. I've got him in for 1 week at home against Sheffield United, and then he's gone from my team because I don't really want him long term. I get the double Brentford. I know they're not great, but it also was a brilliant differential for that week. And also Jared Bowen, as I mentioned, I don't really feel that compelled to buy him in before, but for this fixture home against Aston Villa, I don't really mind him being in my team. Obviously, the problems with game week 29 free hit. I don't have it for game week 34, which is a bit of an issue. Now, if we come on to fpl.team, because this is an amazing site associated with Planet FPL, they have done some fixture projections, but again, as James would rightly say, these are only projections. These are not absolutely concrete. He is just doing his best to project what potentially the Premier League would go for, but he doesn't actually know. So, and he would agree with what I'm saying there. So, looking at game week 34's fixtures, you can see here, based on the projections, it would be a double for Crystal Palace, double for Man United, double for Newcastle, and a double for Sheffield United. Not an incredible double, it has to be said. I don't think it's amazing fixtures. And when I look at the fixtures here for Man United, because that's the one that's screaming out value, I look at it and think, well, I'm probably going to have already Garnacho in my team. And also potentially going to be bringing in Højlund come game week 33. If I look at the fixture term for Bournemouth, in game week 33, he then has Man United, Villa, Brighton, Arsenal. I think game week 33 is a brilliant opportunity for managers just to Dominic Solanke to Rasmus Højlund as a free transfer. it then means that you have opened up the opportunity to have Højlund in your team, and then you could bring in another midfielder if you want to as a sacrifice. I think game week 34 is a brilliant time to free hit, but I don't think it's absolutely crucial to do so. Crystal Palace could be the game breaker, maybe very difficult to go there, but apart from Eze and Elise, I don't really feel like there are any that I'm like absolutely desperate to bring into my team. So 34 is great. I'm not ruling that out myself, but at the time recording, I feel very compelled to get myself investment in the Bournemouth defence, go for the free hit in 29, field 11 players, because remember, some people, including myself, were originally planning on taking a -8 to have 9 players. Well, you're going to free hit, already be 8 points up on that team, on those managers, and also you have then got 2 additional players on top of that. I think that's quite a big gain. Realistically, you're looking at maybe, let's say the 2 players get 2 points minimum, 4. You've already gained 12 points on the field with your free hit. And that's to think that the ones that only have 9 players don't even necessarily have the most important ones. They might have a Charlie Taylor in that team or others who are very, very limited in their potential, whereas you've got the 11 best players based on projections. So that is why I'm leaning towards the free hit in 29, going for the wild card later on the season. And again, doesn't mean that free hit in 34 is a bad move, but it also means that if I wanted to, I could wild card in game week 34 or game week 35 and really capitalize on the bench boost that will be happening in game week 37. My concern with wildcarding in game week 30 or 31 is preparing your team long term for that bench boost in game week 37. But of course, on the flip side, if you wildcard in game week 34 or 35, you're only really getting 5 or 4 weeks of value from that wildcard. So there are pros and cons of both. And once again, guys, if you are tuning into this stream and you're enjoying it, please do consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel. It'd be awesome to have you for the second half of the season. And let me know what your thoughts are on that Arsenal result. They are looking in unbelievable form, it is worth noting. Just to give you an idea on how that game went for Arsenal before we go into the questions. 0.2 XG for Arsenal, 0.2 XG for Sheffield United. Just an absolute dominance. And in terms of the top performers, in terms of XG, Martinelli leading the way at 0.52, but he did limp off the field, so do not be going for Martinelli in FPL. Odegaard at 0.42 and a 0.52 expected assist, ticking over so nicely, and a real good differential for those that maybe went there earlier on. I'll tell you what, a certain Declan Rice ticking over lovely. Look at these returns. 8-pointer in 27, 6-pointer in 26, a 17-pointer in game week 24. Declan Rice and Rodri, the 2 DMs in their respective teams, ticking over beautifully. So, big fan of what Declan Rice is doing. Not a purchase, though, in FPL it is worth noting. Not at all. Hella's saying, don't think the upside in the free hit is in game week 29 is good enough. Playing 7 or 8 players and free hit in 34 for me. 100%. If that is for your team, it makes total sense. The reason why I think there is upside already in the free hit is if you have 7 players, for example, and let's say they're not the absolute optimal 7, straight away, those people that are free hitting have got 4 players on you. Let's say all of them get 2 points each. Then straight away, you're 8 points up on that person. And then, let's say you've taken a points hit to get to that position. Straight away, I think the free hit isn't necessarily worth it. But I do think that when we talk about the free hit not being worth it, I think it is worth it when the rest of the field are only playing 7 or 8. It kind of counteracts the low ceiling of the players. Foden is looking like a good captaincy option, but not being on penalties is always a big factor with captaincy. Yeah, Salah is a must from game week 30. Yeah, I do think from game week 30, just give you a bit of an idea. I mean, Salah this week, not essential at all. But when we look at the fixtures for Liverpool, Brighton, Sheffield United, Man United, Palace, if Mo Salah is fit and raring to go and they have a title to win, Mo Salah plays the majority of those games, and we know when Mo Salah's on the field, he's one of the best FPL options in the game. I think it'll be so hard to go without Mo Salah in our teams for game week 30, whether that be you wildcarding him into your team or simply just bringing him in as part of a free transfer or a points hit. Regardless, there is going to have to be a sacrifice in your team. For me, it would be Phil Foden in game week 30. It isn't great, but when we look at the fixtures, there's no good time to sell Foden, really, in the form that he's in. Let's saying who is likely to rise in price. Let me give you a bit of an idea. Again, this is all taken from Fantasy Football Fix, the best website around. Do not let anybody else tell you otherwise. So, lots of price changes tonight. Foden, Bowen, Louise, Virgil van Dijk, Kelleher, Bradley, all looking like they could go up in price. However, Game Week 28 is a really popular time for wildcards. And for those that don't know, wildcard transfers do not contribute towards price changes. So even though it looks like Foden is going to rise in price, it is slightly skewed because a lot of these are wildcard transfers, and that doesn't impact price changes. So I wouldn't be surprised if Foden remains the price that he is. Players that could fall in price include De Bruyne, Alvarez, Pedro Porro, Alisson, and Jensen. Wildcard is probably going to be used around game week 34, 35, just depending on how the weeks go. I'm being really, really flexible with my transfer strategy, so I don't really feel like I'm totally tied into a move. I'm just letting it, whatever happens, happens. Roman, in terms of the players that you want to sell, I'd probably be looking to firstly sell at a Stupinan in your team, just because you have no guarantees that he's going to play week in, week out. Price is the only issue with Tony for me. Going with Awoni is absolutely fine, or Awoni, however you pronounce it. If you decide to free hit in game week 29, when are you going to use wildcard? I've covered that one off. Do I get Solanke in for Tony this week? Very, very difficult because it depends what your strategy is. If you're free hitting in game week 29, yes, I like the move, because what you can do is Tony to Solanke, get the double, bring Tony back in your free hit. If you're not free hitting, I wouldn't make the move. Ethan, I have 2 free transfers. Shall I bring in Bournemouth or Tottenham, or maybe Villa also scores 78 points? Ethan, I think if I was bringing in a defender, it would be a Bournemouth defender for the double game week. But again, if you're not free hitting in game week 29, then I would bring in a Spurs defender for your team, probably Udogie or Pedro Porro if confirmed fit. Andre, I hope you're doing well. Who would you get in as a Hwang replacement with a 7.4 budget? So first, Andre, it totally depends on what your strategy is. If you are free hitting in game week 29, it completely changes the best teams. So for example, let's take a look at the fixtures between game week 28 and 31. Bournemouth are top of the list. But if you plan on free hitting in game week 29, that's great. If you're not free hitting in game week 29, it totally changes. So, for example, a Luton midfielder becomes great, much better than Bournemouth if you plan on not free hitting. Jarrod Bowen, a really good option, but I believe that might be at that price range. Forest, I think Forest, Selanga, Gibbs White are good options as well for your team. What is an excited Bournemouth player for next game week? Realistically, I don't think there are many, unfortunately. What I would say is, I think Solanke and Zabanije are the 2 best options regardless. If you are going to be going for someone in Bournemouth, I probably would go for Semenyo. He is probably the one that I would mainly look at if you are looking for a bit more of an exciting pick. Just to give you an idea on Bournemouth attacking options this season. And let's reduce the player selection a little bit. And yeah, let's just really narrow down the options here. So Semenyo here, unfortunately, is a forward, which is a bit of an issue because there are so many good forwards in the game. I don't really think you can accommodate someone like Semenyo, but he's ticking over okay. 0.24 XG per 90, 0.18, absolutely fine numbers. I think Cliver is quite exciting, but I can't guarantee he's going to play both games over that double game week. Tavernier is another one. The numbers are really, really good, but can I sit here and tell you he's going to play every minute of double? Unfortunately, I can't, and for that reason, I think you just go safe with Solanke and maybe Zabanije in defence. I think Rice is a good option when Jorginho is DM. Yeah, Felix is a really good point. When he is on the field, it'd be very interesting to know what it looks like. So, just to put things in context, again, this is an unbelievable tool that Fantasy Football Fix have. What you're seeing here is basically Declan Rice across the course of the season. That is him across the course of the season. Now, if we were to put Rice on the other side, however, what we need to do is put in teammates on pitch must include. So when Jorginho is on the field with him, and he is not on there. Why is Jorginho not on there? Anyone tell me if I'm missing Jorginho? Where is Jorginho? Sorry guys, I thought Jorginho would be on this list. Where is Jorginho? Sorry, basically what I'm trying to do here is put in Jorginho, but he won't come up. Jorginho. Okay, basically I wanted to put in Jorginho here, but he is not coming up, which is really frustrating. So I don't really know what to do here, guys. Oh, he's coming up as Jorge. Interesting. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you can see Declan Rice basically across the course of the season. Right-hand side, you can see when Jorginho is on the pitch. What we'll do here is we'll have him when Jorginho is not on the pitch. So left-hand side, this one here, is Declan Rice when Jorginho is not on the pitch. On this side is when Jorginho is on the pitch for him. Now, in terms of minutes, small sample size, only 579 minutes where Rice and Jorginho have been on the field together. 1,729 is when Rice has been without Jorginho. But when we take a look at the underlying numbers here, you can see expected goals, I mean, very, very similar. 0.1 for Rice with Jorginho, 0.07. Shots, not really that different. Expected assists, very, very similar. So does he get a bit more of a free reign, a bit more of a creative? The numbers suggest no. I think the reason why we're seeing increased numbers in Declan Rice is because, as you can see, on this left-hand side, we're getting no corners, no set pieces from Rice. Since Jorginho's been in the team, Rice has been on corners, and that has really improved his creativity numbers with a lot of set piece goals scored. So I don't really read too much into it. Rice with Jorginho, without Jorginho, I don't really think it makes him a great option, even though he is ticking over nicely this season. But again, if any Arsenal fans are on there, because stats and all only do so much justice. If you really watch the teams with an eye test, that's where you get your real conclusions, I believe. So if someone's an Arsenal fan and has noticed something, please do let me know in the chat. It'd be really interesting to know whether there is something I'm missing on that one. Would you take a hit to bring in Solanke or Bowen? Neil, it totally depends on who you're selling is the big question. Felix, do you think it's best to bring in another Bournemouth defender for Senesi or get rid of Haaland for like a Morris? Or so Haaland to Morris, I just don't love it. I think there is great value this week with Morris because he plays 2 games, plays in game week 29 if you need him, but depends if you're a free hitting or not. For me, I'd probably prioritise bringing in a Bournemouth defender. Roman, until game week 30 or 31, Maddison or Bowen. Up until that point, probably have to say Jarrett Bowen. Haven't really seen enough from Maddison recently to think that he has the high ceiling that Bowen could offer. But one thing I am worried about West Ham is the introduction of the Europa League with Freiburg on Thursday. Zabanye, for me, is the best Bournemouth defender, yes. Leylets, I need to take a hit for a keeper since Raya isn't playing next 2 game weeks. Is Kaminsky the best pick if I'm not free hitting in game week 29? Yes, so if you're not free hitting in game week 29, then of course you need a goalkeeper that facilitates game week 29. For me, I think Luton's Kaminsky is a really good pick because you get the double this week and you get a guaranteed game in game week 29, which is really favourable. Outside of that, Leno could be a good option at Fulham, but yeah, I do think Kaminsky ticks a lot of boxes for your team. And Dark saying, Nacho, -8 in 2 weeks. I can field 10 players. Is that enough, or do you recommend getting 11 with a 12-point hit in total or rolling with 10. So it totally depends on who that -4 then would be for. I think 10 players is absolutely fine. The thing that I'm arguing in terms of the free hit is a lot of people are saying free hit game week 29 doesn't look good. So this on your screens here is what realistically a lot of people's game week 29 free hit will look like. Double Brentford defence, Doughty, Pedro Porro, double Spurs midfield, Bailey and Bowen, and a front three of Tony, Morris and Watkins. Now, a lot of people are saying that doesn't look good, and I agree, it's pretty rubbish free hit, but the value might not necessarily be in the players. The value might be in the case of some managers taking a -8 or a -12 to get to 9 players. So straight away, you're 8 to 12 points up on those managers that brought in the exact same players that you own. And you also have 2 additional players in your team. Let's make the assumption those players are, for example, playing, get 2 points apiece, 4 points up on the player, and you already got the -8 or 12. So straight away, this free hit could be 12 points better off than a manager before a ball's been kicked. So that's where I think the real gain is going to be. All managers taking -8s, -12s to get to 9 players when you could just free hit, play 11 and be in a better position. Also meaning you don't have to sell all of your premium assets and lose loads of value on them. So that's where I'm at right now. But I do totally agree that the actual free hit team is pretty rubbish. Andrew saying, what's your trip strategy? I can't remember. So at the time recording, and again, I do hold the right to change it, but at the time recording, my plan right now is to free hit in game week 29, to be really flexible with my wildcard. If I need to wildcard in game week 32, I will, but the plan's to do it around game week 34, 35, and then bench boost in 37. Play Gordon or Foden this game week. I'm going to say Phil Foden. He's in great form. Jay, so I'm a bit of a nude. If you free hit in game week 29, wouldn't you keep those players you free hit to? How do you get your team back from before? Okay, so really good question, Jay. So this is my team currently. So that is my team. When you free hit, and this team right here is a free hit team, you get unlimited transfers, but that team only is for 1 game week. When we move into game week 30, it goes back to your original team from the previous game week. And importantly, if you roll a transfer into your free hit, no matter what, you always have 1 transfer the week after your free hit. So as you can see, this is my team right now, my free hit team, and it goes back to my original squad with only 1 free transfer available. Hopefully that makes sense. Ethan, shall I get rid of Palmer for who? For Son or Maddison, and Longley out for Udogie? First and foremost, having Longley, you might be one of the few managers I've ever seen own Longley. Palmer for Son or Maddison, don't love it. The reason why I don't love it is I think there's a lot of value over the coming game weeks. But when we look at Chelsea's fixtures here, Newcastle at home I think is an okay fixture. Then of course they blank. Then they got Burnley, United, Sheffield United and Everton. I think they're really, really good fixtures. However, if you don't plan on free hitting in game week 29, then it is a good move. But be cautious because there are going to be double game weeks for Chelsea or rearranged games. And I do think eventually Cole Palmer is going to be back on the menu and a player that you really do want in your teams. And if I had to pick between 2, it would definitely be Son over Maddison. Roman, after the game today, how much more likely would you be to triple captain Solanke with double? If you had your triple captain, you just get it done. Again, when we look at the projections from Fancy Planet FPL, and again, as he says, as James says, they are projections. These aren't official. I look at it and think, when else would you use your free hit? Well, firstly, I need to look at Man City. Is there a time when Haaland could go? Well, Luton at home in game week 33 is absolutely a time that you could do so. And another time could be game week 37 with a potential double game week. But if you already plan on bench boosting in game week 37, which a lot of managers will do, you can't use 2 chips in 1 game week. So do remember that. And because of that reason, I think we need to look at other game weeks than game week 37. Outside of that, double in 34, you could go really rogue and put a triple captaincy on a Man United player. Maybe a Rasmus Højlund could be a really nice differential. But outside of that, I do think that Solanke with the double game week, both at home with one of those being Sheffield United, and Luton, who were conceding a bag full of goals as well, I think Solanke is the best time to do so this week. Andrew is saying, I don't know why people are hating on the free hit in 29 and saying that it's not interesting. There are only a couple of games played with teams that don't have good ownership, whereas in game week 34, more premium. Yeah, so it's a really good point. I think when we look at the fixtures for game week 34, if we go to it, and again, once again, these are only projections. We don't actually know what game week 34 is going to look like. So we'll look at the fixtures and think, if I was building a free hit team, first and foremost, triple Man United every day of the week. You probably go Bruno Fernandes, you probably go for Højlund, and you might go for Garnacho or a defender like Dalot. We have a double game week also potentially for Crystal Palace, so I do think maybe a goalkeeper and Eze is a really nice move. But then looking at the single game weeks, Spurs versus Man City, not ideal, but I would think that City players have the opportunity to go decent against Spurs. Arsenal with a single against Wolves, good fixture, but not incredible. So I think the real capitalisation for this is going to be triple Man United, a couple of Crystal Palace, and then we are looking at the investment in maybe a Tony, triple Villa against Bournemouth, and Newcastle, maybe an Isak, Gordon, and a defender. Outside of that, I think game week 34 is a good time to do so, but I don't think 34 is as good as others are maybe thinking. But again, play your own game is the main call here. Just a reminder for those that are wondering where I am in the world, 97k off the back of that double Arsenal clean sheet. Gasper saying, will sell Senesi or wait until deadline? I'd wait for now. I'd wait and see for definite what the information is, but I'll be very surprised if he's back this weekend. I think he's out for a while. Let's start Palmer or Louise this week. It's a tough one. So we got Aston Villa against Spurs. Louise numbers are a joke at home. Palmer against Newcastle. Probably just going to lean towards Palmer, but you obviously are taking a big risk because Douglas Luiz at home is so very good. Andrew is saying, yeah, but a lot of people already have some Newcastle, Man United or Villa players, Yeah, 100%. I do think when we look at the fixtures coming up for Man United over that period, if you are to use your free hit in game week 29, what I've said before is I think a lot of people are going to own Rasmus Højlund from game week 33 onwards because the fixtures start to turn for Solanke around that same period. And I do think Solanke to Rasmus Højlund makes a lot of sense in game week 33. So you already have him for the double in 34. And then looking at the other fixtures, I think it's going to be very difficult to get a Man United midfielder apart from Garnacho because all the other premiums do really well. However, looking at Spurs' fixture swing, Newcastle, City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, that could be a time maybe to move away from your Spurs midfielder and maybe look to bring in a Man United midfielder over that period and go back to them in game week 37 for that bench boost. So again, maybe Solanke to Højlund in 33 and Son to Fernandes in 34. And straight away, you've got your Man United triple up or double up locked in. And then you'd argue you've kind of done the same strategy where you've got the players that the main free hitters want. So is there much upside in the free hit in 34? Maybe, but I think we're all going to be on triple United with our free transfers regardless, or at least a double. I'm on 110k, hopefully getting to 50k at the end. Yeah, 100% mate, that is on the cards for you. Ethan, I have 5 million in the bank. Shall I sell Garnacho and bring in Son? I mean, the fixtures are good. I probably would, yes. I think it's a good move for your team. Davis family, the first, is saying Foden to Bowen or Maddison. I just wouldn't sell either. I wouldn't sell Foden. Then Walker or Trippier to Reguilon or Zabanye for a -4. If you're going to take the -4, it depends on what you're doing. Then -4 for starters to 29. 7 of them in free hit. Optimal thoughts. Well, firstly, I don't like the idea of selling Foden this week as part of a -4 for a Bowen or a Maddison. I just don't think it makes much sense. And then Walker or Trippier. Well, you have to sell Trippier because I think he will be injured. For Reguilon or Zabanye. Well, again, Zabanye doesn't make sense for your team because while you get the double, you then have the blank. So it would be Reguilon, unfortunately, even though the fixture is terrible. Not big on the moves, I can't lie. I can fill 9 players, the optimal players, with just a -4 hit. So I don't think I need to free hit. Do you agree? Yeah. So, look, this is the thing right now. This is going to be the free hit team. Oh, I've lost it. I've got rid of it. Hang on. Did I delete it? No. So this is realistically going to be the free hit team come game week 29. If you can take a -4 and get, for example, Pedro Porro, Doughty, Reguilon, Son, Bowen, Watkins, Morris, Tony, and you've got the big guns, that's great. That's covered you off. I do think you could go without a free hit. But like I said, a lot of people are saying, you know, there's no value. But let's say you've taken a -4 or a -8 to get 9 players. This team already has 2 players on you. So let's say it's a minimum 4 points already ahead. And you've taken the -4, the -8. So straight away, this free hit team could be 10 points clear. Now, of course, you probably do then have some of the big guns. So you've covered yourself off, but you're not going to have all of them. So I do think that the free hit, the value of the free hit is others taking the hits and you not having to. That's the big thing. And you then be able to capitalise on the double in Bournemouth's game when others who are taking points hits can't buy Bournemouth in game week 28 because it's completely against like what you're doing. You can't be taking points hits to build a team for game week 29 and make Bournemouth part of that plan because they don't play in 29. What do I think about Haaland to Morris for wildcards in game week 30? It's a crazy world where we're considering Haaland to Morris. I get it. Morris has a double, plays in game week 29. Haaland doesn't and plays a tricky game against Liverpool. So I think Morris probably does outscore Haaland. But you need to remember the big thing, the value that you're losing for Haaland. That's the only thing you need to consider. Otherwise, I don't mind the move. David, Nacho, want to take a negative for Morris. Is that okay? David, I give you permission. But who are you selling? That's the big thing, mate. Animations, hope you're well. Been here a while, good to be back. Yes, mate, hope you're doing well. All good, bro. Very well, thank you. A little bit husky now. Might have to wrap up the live stream in a minute. Been going for about 50 minutes, so I will need to wrap it up in a minute. But it's been good to get on this live stream and react to the Arsenal game and fixtures. I wasted my bench earlier this season because I thought I would have 2 over the season. Same with Drop Captain wasted. Oh, dude. Hopefully you can live and learn for next season. Animations. Haaland out for Morris this game week if it saves my free hit for 37. Yeah, don't mind it. But again, how long is Haaland going to be out of a team? You need to make sure you have a plan back for him because sooner or later the fixtures are unbelievable for City. How to get that team to know the double and blanks. So this one is called FPL.team. You can see the kind of branding on here, FPL.team. Ended up wildcard in 27 and Bournemouth double defence level. Like, yeah, Bournemouth double defence, do not mind it at all. But hopefully one of those wasn't Senesi. For free, would you get Bowen or Maddison in and sell one of Foden or Odegaard to get a good fixture this week and an extra fixture in 29? Can't sell Odegaard because the fixture is too good in game week 28. Like, game week 28, home against Brentford, who are shipping goals. Do not be selling Odegaard before that game. But equally, I don't love the sale of Foden. It's worth noting. Bowen, game against Freiburg on Thursday, then playing Sunday, then Thursday again. Don't love it. But if I had to sell one, it would be Foden because I think Odegaard is not worth a sell with that fixture. Yeah, animations, I don't mind it then. I think that's a good move. Then you can bring in the 2 big guns from game week 30 onwards. So I approve of those moves. So I think we're going to wrap it up there, guys. As I said, my transfer strategy right now is to free hit in game week 29, bring in a Bournemouth defender this week. Mo Salah will come into my team in game week 30 as part of a -4, and that would include doing Foden to Salah and Saliba to Malagusto for a -4 captaincy on Mo Salah. This is how the team got on. 82 points, 97k overall in the world. Slowly getting there, slowly but surely, sorry. Looking at the ranks around me, still quite a way off the top 10k, 57 points, but we will not stop. We will get there. Right, we're going to wrap up here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. A little bit husky. We got a video coming out tomorrow morning with kind of like a deep dive into my transfer plans between now and game week 32. So make sure if you're not already, you are subscribed to the channel, and I'll see